motivates all living creatures, causing them to perform their life functions through instinct. When you want to achieve something great, you consciously choose your objective then. By stimulating the subconscious mind, you set into motion the higher forces which create that image you hold in your consciousness. The Master Jesus, who knew how to unlock this tremendous power of the subconscious mind for healing, spoke of this power as the Father within, who doeth the work. Again, he said, the Father and I are one. In our modern study of metaphysics, we know that the subconscious mind within man can make him sick or keep him healthy. Let us learn how to tap this dimension of the subconscious mind. Émile Coué first discovered the tremendous power that existed in the subconscious mind for healing the sick. Use the system he taught for giving your subconscious mind the right, positive autosuggestions it needs when you go to bed at night. Repeat over and over the suggestions you want to incorporate in your subconscious mind. You may use the following or make up your own. I desire better memory so I can recall anything from the past that I choose. I wish to change my personality so I will be more magnetic, compelling, and attractive. I would like to attract a better job where I can use my creative gifts and talents to best advantage. I need $1,000 to accomplish my present objective. I want to attract this money from unexpected sources. I wish to find a home that I can afford. It is to be located in the country and will have a small garden and 5 rooms. I would like to play the piano, or sing, or type, or write stories or songs. Whatever creative gift you desire, ask for it. I want better health, more energy and vitality, and a healing of the condition that I now have. It is important that you be specific when you command the forces of your subconscious mind. You can say your autosuggestions aloud or to yourself as you lie in bed preparing to go to sleep. Say each autosuggestion over at least 10 times, and repeat this process every night and every morning for the rest of your life. The habit patterns of your subconscious mind will be built in about 3 months' time if you conscientiously do this exercise. And soon you will be able to command this power at will, and it will sometimes work instantaneous miracles for you. Write some of your autosuggestions down on small cards that you can carry in your purse or pocket, and several times a day, look at them and repeat them. These can be suggestions for specific things you desire, or they may be pep statements such as, I feel wonderful. Everything I do today will be successful. I radiate love to everyone I meet. I am life. I am youth. I am love. I charge my mind with power. I have faith that only good will seek me out. I am a dynamic center of cosmic light, peace, and beauty, and become a magnet for all good. C. Read, memorize, and absorb positive knowledge from self-help books to keep you constantly charged mentally in a positive way. Avoid reading destructive and negative books and magazines that deal in horror, sadism, and degeneracy. D. Choose programs on television and movies that are inspiring, uplifting, and constructive. Avoid those programs that dwell too much on bloodshed, violence, and disaster. E. Charge the batteries of your brain by giving yourself tasks to perform that are creative and positive. Example, when a magnet loses its power to attract to itself iron filings, it is given work to do by placing a piece of iron on it until it is once again charged. You can use this same process to charge your brain. By associating your mind with some uplifting and inspiring thought, you automatically charge its electrical and magnetic power. The emotions and thoughts which help charge the subconscious quickest are a desire to unselfishly help others, a love of people, and a desire to do something good for them. The emotion of love manifested on any of its various planes. Love of family, love of humanity, love of friends, love of country, love of God, forgiveness to those who have harmed you in any way. Example, a woman who suffered from crippling arthritis for 20 years finally confessed that she had hated her sister all those years for taking her boyfriend away from her and marrying him. She had remained a spinster all those years, hating her sister. When she was told to forgive the sister and send her loving thoughts, she changed the mental charge of her subconscious mind from hate to love, and within 6 months, her arthritis disappeared. F. At night, when you retire, give your subconscious mind a list of the things you want it to do for you. The subconscious may send through the thought for making $1 million while you sleep, as it did to Edison when he invented his electric light bulb. He had been trying for weeks to invent a filament that wouldn't burn out immediately. Everything he tried failed. Finally, he gave his subconscious mind instructions that he wanted a filament that would last for many hours. One night he awakened as if someone had nudged him, and he hastily wrote down the idea that came through. The next day he hastened to work out the details of the idea, and the electric light was born. The cosmic mind, storehouse of cosmic memory. The third dimension of mind is that mind which seems to be above the physical and material universe, and which in metaphysics we call the cosmic mind. It is within the cosmic mind that all universal consciousness exists. When you once learn how to tap this vast repository of universal memory, you may consort with the immortals of all ages and share their thoughts, emotions, and creative genius. Let us now study the method by which you may tap this cosmic mind and enjoy unlimited freedom of movement in the vast universal realms of great art, music, literature, poetry, and philosophy. A. Study the lives of the great geniuses of history, and mentally take on the luster of their minds and the greatness of their profound thoughts. For example, choose Burbank and from him take the essence of his creative genius. This was made up of curiosity about the workings of nature, patience in his many experiments with growing plants, faith in the inherent miracle of all life that infuses all living things, vision, the ability to see new forms and create them through imagination, courage, to be able to continue in the face of numerous failures and obstructions. You can see how you can borrow cosmic greatness from a genius like Burbank by knowing his life and his work, and then emulating the pattern of greatness as established by him. From Carnegie, you can emulate the qualities of imagination, persistence, desire for a better life, unselfishness, which caused him to give to America 1,200 public libraries, and that great cultural institution, Carnegie Hall. From Edison, you can emulate the cosmic qualities of a desire to do good for others, faith in the miracle power that worked through him, joy in creativity, a love of humanity, a desire to change the world for the better, patience, perseverance, hope, and optimism. From Beethoven and Mozart, you may emulate the cosmic qualities of beauty, harmony, joy, and rhythm. Also their creative patterns of hard work, diligence, patience, and love of humanity. This process of studying the lives of the great can be extended to every realm of human endeavor, from philosophy and science to art, music, literature, and invention. B. Mentally hold a conference with great men whose thoughts and works have enriched the world. Example: you might have a business problem which you do not know how to work out. Call upon the cosmic knowledge used by Vanderbilt, Morgan, Carnegie, Schwab, and other business geniuses. The same thoughts which motivated them when they lived are still in existence today on the cosmic plane of consciousness, and you may tap this plane as easily and readily as these men did. You may wish the inspiration of great music. Turn to the recordings of such geniuses as Beethoven, Mozart, Handel, Bach, and Strauss, and when listening to their living music, you can recreate the inspiration and emotional beauty that caused them to create their vibrant masterpieces. You may require the transcendental wisdom and beauty of words, which were created by such great men as Shelley, Keats, Milton, Dante, Shakespeare, and Hugo. Turn to the works of these or other great authors and rekindle once again the cosmic flame which burned brightly for them, and which through them inspired the entire human race. You may require the cosmic knowledge of a man of science for some specific task in your life. Turn to the lives and works of such men as Newton, Galileo, Leonardo da Vinci, Pasteur, Einstein, Salk, and Fleming. The same cosmic inspiration that motivated them can, through their works, enkindle your brain and imagination with the same creative fire they used, and cause you to create works of greatness. C. Have a high and noble purpose for living, and you will reach out to the cosmic mind and draw inspiration and help for every action in your life. Hetty Green made over $100 million in her lifetime, but her greed and selfishness were such that she became a miser and never knew the joy and excitement that comes from sharing your money with other people. You can tap cosmic mind power by by having an unselfish desire to help the world become a better place in which to live. Nobel made his fortune through munitions and gunpowder, but he left his fortune in trust for the Nobel Peace Prize to be given every year to the man who does the most for peace, as well as for literary greatness. Carnegie once said that in the future it will be considered sinful for a man to die rich. He left most of his fortune to foundations for the good of humanity. Rockefeller Sr. has been criticized by many for the methods he used to accumulate the early fortune he made. However, after his death, he left his money to the Rockefeller Foundation, which has discovered some of the great advances made in science and medicine, which can help all of humanity. Andrew Mellon endowed a vast art gallery so he could share his love of beauty with the world. The fourth dimensional plane of spirit. When you have explored all three planes of consciousness, the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, and the cosmic mind, you have at your control all of the vast forces which man may tap and use for his physical, material, mental, emotional, and psychic needs. There is still one other plane to be explored. This is the fourth dimensional plane of pure spirit or essence, which flows in, through, and around the physical and material, giving it its form and substance, but never being imprisoned by matter. Einstein was working on a theory before he died, which explained all matter, all creation, in terms of this divine essence or spirit. In religion, this essence is called the Holy Ghost, but in metaphysics we know that the power which Jesus, the healer, used, and which all the great mystics have used to perform miracles of healing and other great creative actions, was on the fourth dimensional metaphysical plane. In other words, the plane that is above and beyond the physical and material universe. Great forces alive in the invisible. There are great forces alive in the invisible fourth dimensional plane. It is there that electricity ebbs and flows in a vast tidal wave of power. When Franklin tried his experiment with a kite and key, he proved that this stupendous cosmic power existed. Later, Galvani, Marconi, Edison, and other creative geniuses harnessed these tidal waves of power that exist in the invisible dimensions of time and space. Magnetism is another of these vast cosmic forces, which man is only now beginning to learn how to use. Newton and Galileo both showed mankind that this mysterious fluidic substance ebbed and flowed throughout the created universe and could be used by mankind when he once understood it. Now our spaceships are probing interstellar space because we have learned how magnetism works through the gravitational force, or third law of motion, which Newton discovered. Capillary attraction in all growing living things is another one of these mysterious invisible forces, which is motivated by the divine essence behind all creation. When you once learn how to tap this enormous reservoir of invisible power, you can truly become a Superman and perform deeds that would be called miracles by all who witness them. Jesus knew how to transmute substances, how to heal the sick, now to feed the multitudes with a few loaves and fishes, how to walk on water, raise the dead, turn water into wine, and perform other incredible miracles through the use of the law of transmutation and transfiguration. All of this has been documented in history. How to tap the fourth dimensional plane of spirit. A. Use the two miracle keys of faith and prayer to unlock the vast reservoirs of latent power within your human psyche. Have faith that this power is alive today and is working for you, as it did for Jesus and other great teachers of the past. Use prayer as the spiritual language with which you can communicate to the divine mind within your own consciousness. The spark of divinity is alive within all human beings. You can talk to God as easily as you talk to your friends. Prayer is the language of the soul, and when you hold Holy Communion with your divine self, you will be admitted into many mysteries of the universe, and you will be given powers that will astound you. B. Intensify your spiritual magnetism by holding in your consciousness the spiritual qualities that all great mystics have told us about. These qualities are truth, love, peace, charity, goodness, forgiveness, faith, and worship of the divine force, which created all life. These qualities of the divine should be indulged and exercised as much as you exercise your physical body. The mind, the emotions, and the soul of man require certain stimuli, and on the fourth dimensional plane, man must live in the awareness of his divinity and act accordingly. Base and ignoble actions destroy this divine image, and man sinks back to the primitive plane of an animal. C. Master the negative emotions which destroy the divine image. These emotions we have learned elsewhere in our study. They are fear, hatred, anger, revenge, envy, jealousy, greed, selfishness, and malice. The only way that you can really master these emotions is through substitution of a positive emotion in place of the negative one. D. When you wish to stir the miracle response centers of your consciousness, use the secret that the Tibetan mystics have used for centuries. Visualize a golden cord tied to the forehead. See this golden cord reaching out into infinity, where it contacts the cosmic mind of the Creator. When you practice projecting your spiritual essence to the divine, breathe deeply 10 or 15 times, and then close your eyes and visualize the divine essence flowing from the cosmic mind to your mind. Slowly say the mystic words, Om Mani Padme Om, 10 or 15 times. Breathe deeply before saying the words, and then hold the Om a little longer than the other words. You will feel a sense of exhilaration when you perform this mystic ritual, and it will give you great power and endurance when you need it. E. You can tap this high plane of the fourth dimension of spirit when you perform charitable acts. This is one of the reasons why all the great mystics and prophets stress charity in their teachings. The spirit of outpouring is a divine act, as the sun pours forth its rays to nourish the earth and to give life to all mankind. The cosmic mind is a generous and loving force that bestows its treasures lavishly on mankind. Duplicate this generosity of the divine mind in your own life, and you will see immediate changes in your own life affairs. Being charitable does not mean that you must give money to others. Giving takes many different forms. You can give kindness, love, beauty. You can share your life experiences with those less fortunate. You can give smiles and kind words to those with whom you work. The spirit of kindness and generosity can become a mental habit which infuses your entire personality. It will win friends for you and cause you to be loved by everyone you meet. Chapter 7. All riches possible using miracle power consciousness of metaphysics. You can use the miracle power consciousness for many different purposes in life. You may want to become an outstanding success in the business or professional world and build a vast fortune. You can use this power for this purpose. There is nothing wrong with utilizing the riches that are in the universe. They were given to man by the Creator and should be used intelligently. The Bible speaks of the love of money being the root of all evil. It does not say money itself is evil. It is the greedy, selfish person who accumulates a fortune for his own self-aggrandizement who is sinful. If you use the miracle power consciousness to attract a fortune and use your money intelligently, you can be as rich as you wish to be. How to build the rich consciousness. There is a law in metaphysics which is called the law of cause and effect. It is also referred to as action and reaction. There can be no effect without a predisposing cause. If you want to become rich and successful, you must set the causes into motion, which will lead to the effect of producing riches. This is a law in everything in the mental and physical worlds. What is consciousness? It is the state of being conscious, of having awareness. It is the totality of one's thoughts, feelings, and experiences. A rich consciousness must first be created before you can truly enjoy the blessings of life. This consciousness can be built even if you are poor and do not have any material resources. Example: a man who has never been exposed to any artistic or cultural experience might go to the Metropolitan Museum in New York City, where there are magnificent art treasures from all over the world. He might enjoy the experience a great deal, but it is unlikely that he will really understand what he sees or fully appreciate the works of art. Why? Because his consciousness has never been fully developed in relation to art. A person who has studied art, who has read books on the lives of the artists, and who knows something about symmetry, composition, form, and color, will appreciate the beautiful paintings more than one unversed in this knowledge of great art. The rich consciousness must first be built before you can truly enjoy the free riches of life, or attract the material abundance which riches represent. If you were rich, what would you do? Let us ask a hypothetical question. If you were really rich, what are some of the things that you would do? You would buy magnificent paintings for your home. You would probably have expensive, leather-bound volumes for your library. You would own a luxurious car with a chauffeur to drive you anywhere you wanted to go. You would travel to foreign places and seek out the pleasures and amusements of nightclubs, horse racing, and yachting. You would frequent the best hotels, eat the finest food, and go to the opera and theater to see fine shows. You can actually live the rich life and enjoy the same things that millionaires enjoy, without being rich. When you once build the rich consciousness, you will enrich your life. And then, if you want a fortune, the miracle power within you can show you how to attain it. Here is how the rich consciousness is built. 1. Be aware of the priceless treasures of life that are all about you and which you can enjoy with very little money. For instance, you cannot own a Rembrandt painting, which would be worth $1 million or more, and which few millionaires can afford to own, but you can buy magnificent reproductions of the greatest art treasures in the world, such as the Mona Lisa, the Blue Boy, the Last Supper, and other great paintings, which can adorn the walls of your home. If you are not near a great art gallery, like the Metropolitan in New York, you can purchase books which reproduce the world's great art treasures and enrich your consciousness by studying the lives and the works of the great artists of the past. 2. You may not have a fine library of leather-bound first editions in your home, but you have access to a public library, which is a repository for the world's greatest literature. Here you may borrow books which you can read and fill your consciousness with the noblest thoughts and inspirations of the greatest literary geniuses of the past and present. Also, most of the finest books are now being reproduced in paper-bound volumes, which almost anyone can afford. 3. Study the lives on great and successful men of history through reading biographies and autobiographies. Then emulate their lives and thoughts. Learn from the mistakes of these men and try to enrich your consciousness by absorbing as much knowledge as you can from their examples and life works. 4. You may not have your own limousine and chauffeur, but what about your local forms of transportation? You can have, for a small sum, a vast streetcar or subway or bus with a liveried chauffeur who does the driving for you. Isn't this as much yours as if you owned it? Then, too, think of how little bother it is. You need not take care of it or put gas in it or worry about repairs. It is all done for you by a vast network of employees that you need never contact. Instead of lamenting the fact you do not have a car, build first the consciousness of riches, which can eventually lead you to owning your own car. 5. You may long for a mansion and landscaped gardens, but did you ever stop to think that you already possess illimitable riches in public parks, zoos, botanical gardens, that no millionaire could ever afford to keep up? I remember in my walks about Bel Air, where I had a home in California for many years, I came to a vast 10-acre estate with a huge wire fence around it, and the words, "Electric Gate, Keep Out," on the front. In the center of this estate was a huge mausoleum of a house. I never saw any people on its rolling lawns. No one was ever out in the yard enjoying the flowers and imported expensive trees and shrubs. It was a lonely and deserted wilderness, and the multimillionaire who lived there was never at home to enjoy his mansion. Surely you can find more happiness in your own comfortable small apartment or home than is represented by this outlay of wealth. You can build a rich consciousness and enjoy the public parks and the beauty of gardens all around you, without ever having to worry about watering the plants or paying the gardeners to keep them up. 6. You may complain that you cannot afford to go to the theater and opera or concerts. Your hometown may not have these special entertainments which only the rich can afford. You need not be rich to have entertainment fit for a king. You have radio and television, which can bring into your home in one evening alone entertainment worth many millions of dollars. With the flip of a dial, you can be personally entertained by such great stars as Jack Benny, Milton Berle, Lucille Ball, Jackie Gleason, Bob Hope, Red Skelton, and Danny Thomas. You can turn to the telephone hour for culture and fine music, You can even have Johnny Carson, Ed Sullivan, and occasionally the Beatles and Elvis Presley, if you want modern entertainment and vaudeville. Then think of the multi-million-dollar movies that you can tune into of an evening. You can be entertained by not only our present stars, but by a youthful John Barrymore, Errol Flynn, Clark Gable, Gary Cooper, and Tyrone Power, who have long since departed this earth. Garbo, Dietrich, Rita Hayworth, Lana Turner come to you in the magic of eternal youth and beauty on your home TV, and it costs you only the initial price of your set. A potentate of the Far East, with all his millions, could never afford the wonder and luxury of a radio or television set. You are already as rich as Midas, but you may not have the consciousness of the abundance you truly possess. The rich universe in which you live. To help you build the miracle power consciousness that can bring you illimitable riches, let us examine the rich universe in which you live. Most people remain in poor circumstances in life because they are not aware of the riches that God has placed here for us to enjoy. Ponder on the following facts the next time you begin to bemoan the fact there are not enough riches for all people. In Russia, there is a forest 3,000 miles square. In that one forest alone, there is enough lumber and building material to build a mansion the size and beauty of the White House in Washington, D.C. for every family in the world. In Brazil, there is a vast area of untapped treasures, where there is more than enough wealth to furnish the world with gold, diamonds, silver, iron, coal, zinc, tin, copper and mahogany, rubber and fruits, to supply the entire world for generations to come. Poverty is in the mind of man, not in God's universe. Then, add to this the wealth that exists in the sea. Now they are finding diamonds, gold, and oil in the seas of the world that promise to furnish mankind with an abundance of treasures for generations to come. Remind yourself constantly that you live in a rich universe, and that everything God created was for you and your loved ones. There is no poverty in nature. Poverty is man-made. The cost of the ships that were sunk at Pearl Harbor alone would have furnished water to nourish the entire desert wastes of the West. Enough produce could have been furnished there alone to feed the starving millions of Asia. $4 billion, the cost of creating one single atom bomb, could have wiped out poverty in America and fed the rest of the world for years. In America alone, we store millions of pounds of butter, dump millions of gallons of milk, oranges, potatoes, and burned produce that could easily feed the entire world. The next time you hear someone speak of the lack and limitation that is in the world, remind them of these facts. Enrich your consciousness by being aware of the true riches that exist in this universe. Soon you will be able to attract all the money you need to furnish you with every luxury and comfort you desire. Do these things to release the miracle power for building a fortune. 1. Absorb as much knowledge as you can about the world in which you live. Study the great examples furnished by men and women of the past. Learn all you can about art, music, literature, science, and invention. Make it a point to learn how rich men have made their fortunes. Go to your public library and get books on the lives of such men as Carnegie, Rockefeller, Mellon, Vanderbilt, Morgan, and Astor. Then try to apply the knowledge you have gathered to your own life. 2. Have a sincere desire to elevate yourself in life. Raise your standards, have high ideals, do things that will carry you a step higher in intellectual and cultural fields. You might enroll in a course in public speaking, study art or music or writing. Go to art galleries and then study books that tell you of the lives of the great artists. You will be better able to attract the finer things of life if you build a consciousness that comprehends worthwhile achievements. 3. Build your sense of awareness of the treasures that you already possess by taking a daily inventory of the riches you now enjoy. On Monday, you might study something about a great artist like Rembrandt or Da Vinci. On Tuesday, you might listen to some fine music by Beethoven or Mozart, and then learn something about the composers' lives by reading books in your library. On Wednesday, you might be aware of the good things on television, instead of lamenting the bad things. Study the life of Edison, Marconi, Sarnoff, the men who made this modern miracle possible. On Thursday, you might enjoy the luxury of the fruits you see in the marketplace or have on your table. Become curious about the man who perfected so many fruits and flowers and vegetables. Study the life of Burbank and see how he used the miracle power of his higher mind to create new forms of fruits and vegetables which enrich your life today. This study regime should continue throughout your entire life and should extend to art, music, literature, history, science, philosophy, psychology, industry, and religion. Soon you will find your consciousness is tremendously enriched, and you will stimulate the response centers of your higher mind, giving you greater power to attract into the orbit of your daily experiences the riches and abundance which you desire. 4. Visualize and imagine the type of world in which you wish to live. Mentally select the home environment in which you believe you would be happiest. Then strive to create as much beauty, charm, and cleanliness in your present environment. Soon you will attract to yourself the right home that you have lived in your imagination. 5. Have an objective in life, a reason for wanting to make a fortune. You may want a beautiful home, a car of your own, a college education for your son or daughter, a fur coat, a small boat. Whatever it is, have the objective clearly in mind. Write it down on a sheet of paper and read it over every day until you have built the consciousness of abundance. Then have the patience to wait for fulfillment of your dream. 6. Clear your mind each night when you retire of all negative thoughts that you have accumulated during the day. Your consciousness is built by an accumulation of ideas and thoughts. If you think you can succeed and attract riches, you will have a better chance than if you tell yourself 100 times a day that you will fail, that there aren't enough riches to go around, or other negative thoughts. 7. Strive to be worthy of the best that life has to offer. Build your consciousness of quality and riches by wearing the best clothes you can afford. Eat in the restaurants that represent quality. Choose your entertainment on television or movies with the intention of improving the quality of your mind. Read good books. Be conversant with the classics of the past in art, music, and literature, as well as the modern trends in these fields. 8. Use the riches you now possess and appreciate and enjoy the free gifts of life. Sunshine, fresh air, beautiful flowers, smiling faces of children, music, good food, friends, and loved ones. These emotional values are also riches of the spirit, and they should not be neglected while you search for material treasures and possessions. A test to determine your state of consciousness. Your answers to the following questions will determine to what degree you have achieved the enrichment of your consciousness. If your scoring is low at present, do not be discouraged, but strive to achieve a higher rating through re-studying this chapter. To determine your grade, give yourself credit for 10 points on each question that you answer yes. If your score is 90%, it is excellent. 80% to 90% is very good. 70% to 80% is fair. 1. Do you spend at least 1 hour a day in improving your mind by studying things that pertain to your personality? This includes your voice, your manners, and the social graces. 2. Do you appreciate and enjoy good music? 3. Do you read books considered classics? Books by writers such as Dickens, Shakespeare, Victor Hugo, Dumas, Milton, Dante. 4. Do you seek out friends who are cultured and refined? 5. Do you try to keep your present home neat, clean, and orderly? 6. Are you utilizing the riches that you already possess fully? 7. Do you visit your local museums, art galleries, and cultural institutions often? 8. Do you try to raise your standards and avoid doing things that are common, cheapening and coarsening to your personality? 9. Do you select your clothing with taste and an eye to quality and style? 10. Do you spend at least half an hour a day in meditation and contemplation of the mystery of life, searching for beauty, goodness, truth, happiness, and love? Chapter 8. 10 Keys that Unlock the Metaphysical Forces of Your Mind. Your mind possesses vast reserves of power and knowledge within its domain. When we speak of mind in this study, we mean the totality of consciousness, which scientists call the conscious, the subconscious, and superconscious minds. In metaphysics, we add another dimension to mind. This is the divine mind, which is often called cosmic mind or universal intelligence. It has been found that in psychological experiments where people were hypnotized, they possessed amazing knowledge that they did not have in their conscious states. Some people could speak foreign languages fluently, although they had never been abroad or studied such languages. Others knew how to play the piano or some other instrument. Still others knew about countries and strange places where they had never been. Where were these reserves of knowledge stored? If they were not in the conscious mind, then they must have resided in some other part of consciousness where the person was not even aware of them. One man who had a very poor mind for mathematics could add, subtract, and multiply long lists of figures while in a state of hypnosis. Miracle superforces of geniuses. Certain men and women throughout history have known how to release these miracle superforces of the divine mind and perform feats that astounded people. Joan of Arc was such an example. She was a poor peasant maid who had never been away from her village. When she began to hear voices and have visions, people thought she was obsessed with evil spirits. She saw in her visions that she would ride at the head of France's victorious armies, and the voices told her she would one day save France. When she finally convinced the French generals of the veracity of her visions, they put her at the head of their soldiers, and she led them to victory after victory. Were her visions delusions? Or rather, were they induced by some superforce within her consciousness that knew of her divine destiny? We are inclined to believe the latter, for too many times in history men and women have had this kind of divine vision and have achieved miracles that were impossible for ordinary men and women to perform. In his experiments in extrasensory perception, a noted authority tells of an instance where a young woman's father died, leaving her impoverished. After the funeral expenses were paid, there was no money left for food in the house. One night this woman had a realistic dream in which her father came to her as she had known him in life and told her of a secret compartment in an antique piece of furniture in the living room where she would find a large sum of money hidden in big bills. Upon awakening, the woman could still hear the sound of her father's voice in her ears. She arose and went to the antique dresser her father had told her about. She reached into a recessed area behind one of the drawers and there found the money in the secret compartment she had been told about. How Napoleon unlocked this superforce. Napoleon called upon the miracle superforce of his higher mind and won for himself a position as Emperor of France and nearly conquered the entire continent in his 20-year rule. He believed in astrology and was told early in his life that he was destined to become a king. He believed that he was destined to liberate the people of France from tyranny and poverty and to unite all of Europe in a great confederacy over which he would rule as emperor. When he consulted mystics and seers, they confirmed his own inner conviction that he was born to rule. This idea became an overpowering, magnificent obsession in Napoleon's mind. He began to study the art of warfare, of political and diplomatic strategy, and finally, when he felt the stars were auspicious, he set out on his rendezvous with destiny. There is no doubt that Napoleon tapped some higher power, another dimension of mind than his own conscious mind, to rise to the heights he ultimately attained. What were the miracle keys that he used to unlock the superforce of his mind? The 10 miracle keys to all greatness. In a study of metaphysics, we find that there are 10 keys that unlock the miracle superforce of the mind. We shall study each of these keys in turn and see how to apply them to your own life. With these keys, you can unlock doors of consciousness where the miracle superforce resides. The key of imagination. Your destiny is forged in the workshop of your imagination. It is in his imagination that man can truly grow wings of the soul and soar above the limitations of mortal mind and become godlike in his dreams and aspirations. That which you can conceive, you can achieve. The very act of picturing a condition you desire sets into motion certain superforces within your higher mind that begin to create the conditions imaged. Einstein gave the world a mathematical formula which perfectly states the metaphysical law for using creative imagination to materialize the destiny we desire. Einstein's formula is expressed mathematically as E equals mc2. What this formula says is that energy and matter are convertible. Mental energy possesses its equivalent in matter and is as real as so-called material energy. All physical and material things are actually manifestations of energy. The energy in a thought produces its own materialization. An idea is as real and solid as a bridge or a skyscraper. The concept of love is as real and permanent as the sun or the earth. The fact that mental energy cannot be seen or felt does not argue that it has no existence. Let us examine this metaphysical concept further below. I have reduced it to a practical formula which utilizes the imagination as the energy-producing miracle force. It is dream, dare, and do. What is your big dream in life? It is through your imagination that you must picture what I call your big dream of life. There can be no actual achievement of your dream, the daring and the doing of our metaphysical formula, until you first have the picture in your imagination of the things you want to attract in life. The dream stirs into action the miracle superforces of your higher mind, and the mental and spiritual energy that it sets into motion externalizes in creative patterns. Do you dream of achieving some high goal in life? If you do, it must be specific and clear-cut. Otherwise, the superforces of your higher mind are not activated sufficiently to bring it into being. I remember in my first year in high school in biology class when we were studying the sprouting of plants, we were given home study work where we were told to plant bean seed and then watch them mature. I was so anxious to see the miracle of growth and evolvement that I kept digging up the poor bean seed until it gave up in discouragement and died. The picture of the mature bean, the sprouts, the roots, the final edible vegetable inherent in the seed, were all there in the invisible dimensions of time and space, waiting for the final creative pulsation in the soil. But the law of growth could never work when it was constantly disturbed. This same law applies to your life. In your imagination, you plant the seed of the crop you wish to reap. The superforces of your higher mind are ready and waiting to mature the destiny you want. But you must hold the picture firmly in mind, then let the higher power mature your dream and externalize it into its physical and material equivalent. One man's imagination changed the world. One of the most imaginative men in history was Jules Verne, who lived between 1828 and 1905. He wrote more than 100 books, and in his imagination created the first submarine, helicopter, radio, television, and dirigible. Simon Lake invented his submarine from inspiration he received when he read Verne's story 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Verne's imaginative pictures were fanciful, but they were converted into rational and productive products by men who read his literary works and were, in turn, inspired by them. Eli Whitney invented the cotton gin when he saw his pet cat trying to reach through the bars of a cage to get at his canary. In his imagination, Whitney visualized steel bars holding back the cotton seed, while iron claws drew out the fluffy white cotton between the bars. This one invention revolutionized the industry of the South. The miracle superforces of man's higher mind were stimulated by the power of the imagination to produce such modern great things as the printing press, wireless, radio, television, automobile, typewriter, harnessing of electricity, the splitting of the atom, and the creation of such miracles as the electronic microscope, the 200-inch telescope at Palomar, and now, man's ultimate triumph of mind over matter, the creation of spaceships that are on their way to the moon and distant stars. How to stimulate your imagination. 1. Read a scene in a book or magazine, and then in your imagination try to project that scene in all its details. Add to it what you wish and make the scene come to life vividly, trying to see the characters, the environment, the action, and any other details that are described in the story. 2. Think back to your childhood and recall some scene that you enjoyed, such as a Christmas, Thanksgiving, or birthday. In your mind's eye, try to recall the people who were there, the things they said and did, the food you ate, and any other details that you can remember. 3. Picture your perfect dream home. Cut pictures out of home decorating magazines and let them serve as a stimulus to your imagination. Visualize a party in the dream home. See the friends you have invited, work in the